Okay, yesterday we began the Masechta Yevamot. We saw that if a man is married to two women and he dies, and the two women are falling in front of the dead man's brother to perform Yibum, if one of them is one of 15 arayos, right, then it would pater the tzara. In other words, the man, obviously can marry the erva. Not only can he marry the erva, he cannot marry the tzara. Guys, when it says pater the tzara, it doesn't mean it's optional. Here's the key. B'mokai mitzvah, we do away with the Isra of Eshesach. If b'shas she falls, you can't be Mekayim, the mitzvah of Yibum, she remains what she is, a sister-in-law, which is an Issachar. That's a very big key in Yevamot. So in other words, in the first case where a man was married to his niece and he died, and the daughter and another woman is falling in front of the girl's father, so he can't marry the girl. Obviously can't marry his daughter. He can't marry the other one either. Now the other one, since he can't marry her, remains his brother's wife. Eshesach. It always remains that way. It remains Eshesach. It always remains. That's a key in the sugya. Now the Gemara is going to go ahead and analyze the Mishnah. Like you're going to take apart each part of the Mishnah. Tonight is it's different than last night. It's different than last night. You're not going case by case, but very much it depends upon the words of the Mishnah. So the Mishnah said there are 15 nashim paitus sarasayim, v'sar sarasayim min achlitzim min ayibum. Says the Gemara. Let's begin on Beis Amid Beis. We're beginning the Gemara on the Mishnah. Michti. Let us see. Kula mi achas isha yalfinan. Guys, we're going to see on the Amid Beis the source for a tzara being pata as a result of an erva is achas isha. It's achas isha is the sister of your wife's sister. That's the source. It's listed as one of the 15 in the Mishnah. Good. Since it's the source for the other 15 to pater, it should be first base. We should start off. If that's the source for the Batur, list that first. Michti. And we'll see that on the Amid Beis. Listening achas isha bereisha. Why did you learn bitoi, basmino, and then you learned achas isha later on down the line? Right? Actually you learned it in the 12th stat. It was 12. Number 12. It should be listed as number 1. The chitema, if you're going to say Tana chumrei nagat, Reb Shimon he damas sreifa, right? That says sreifa. His chamura, guys. There are 4 mises bezdin, skila sreifa hereg b'chenek. There's machlokas in Masechta Sanhedrin. What is the most severe? We paskin skila is the most severe. Reb Shimon paskins sreifa is the most severe. The first 9 cases of the Mishnah, bitoi, baspitoi, baspinoi, basishtoi, baspino, baspita, chamoso, em chamav. If a man is with any one of these women, he will be chayv sreifa. So therefore, perhaps achas isha is not sreifa, it's karis. So perhaps the reason we listed in that order, it's a hierarchy of severity of punishment. So therefore, you're listing that order based upon sreifa. So you're going to say that Reb Shimon he damas sreifa chamura, meaning sreifa is more chamer than skila. Ihachi lisni chamosa bereisha, dika sreifa b'chamosa ksiva. If that is the reason behind this listing, and sreifa, so the source is sreifa. It's by sreifa. It says by your mother-in-law. It says sreifa. Zima his, and you should burn. So the Gemara is asking, well, if that's the reason, v'od basa chamoso lisni kalaso, the basa sreifa skila chamura. So guys, kalasa is on what number? 15. 15. If you're telling me the order, the hierarchy is based upon the severity of the punishment, then after you list 9 sreifa, which is the most chamer according to Rav Shimon, number 10 should be kalasai, which is skila, rather than some of the others, which are isakaris. Karis is less than sreifa or skila. So if we're going according to severity, go ahead, list sreifa, then move up. What? So 2 questions why severity don't make sense. 1, if you're going after the severity, list the source of severity, which is chamoso, which is sreifa, should be number 1. And secondly, if you go according to the order of the severity of the punishment, then kalasai, which is skila, should go ahead and preempt karis, which met with many of the others. So 2 reasons why this order can't be correct. One, then chamoso should be first, and two, then kalaso should move up the hierarchy. Ella lashon charata. So now we're giving, what's the reason for the 15 orders of the Mishnah? Dov. We're giving asking in the orders of 15. Why Dafna in that order? So now, Ella, Bito, the daughter, Kivin the Asi Midrasha, Chavivale. Now, we saw yesterday, when we speak about daughter, guys, we're speaking about a daughter as a result of a rape, an anusa, right? The only way we know that is a drasha, and we're going to go through the drasha. I skipped it in Chagiga. I waited for Yevamot. That's that we had it in Chagiga. Heina zima. I zoomed through it there because it was not Nageya. Here it is Nageya. I'm going to go through it with you. So Mimela, since we derive Bitoi, and we're speaking of here, Bitoi me anusasai, his daughter from a forced relation, since that is totally learned from a drasha, from, as they say in God School land, an exegesis, since we're going to learn from there, that's why they listed it first. It's more chaviv. So the Tana listed something that's more chaviv to him. Keeping the Asi Midrasha chaviv alei, Amid Aleph. Fred the Gemara, Kula Nami Midrasha Asu. Guys, we all learn out 15, 14 from Aches Isha. It's all a drasha. That can't make it why. You can't tell me that's the reason you're listening Bitoy first. Everything's a drasha. Says the Gemara, and for the Gemara, Nihi de le'inyan yibum Asi Midrasha. But Ika Isurayu Bahadek Sivbahu. Bitoi Iki Surah Midrasha. Guys, of the 14 things listed, we know their punishment. It's a pasuk in the Torah. What the drasha tells us is that when a man comes and falls, him and another woman fall, that they're off the hook. But the Isser itself, that you know from the pasuk. Bita Amunasaso, you don't even know the whole kit and caboodle. You don't even know what. It's not word kit and caboodle. You don't even know what. You don't even know it at all. In other words, you would think maybe there's no punishment at all. So therefore, since it's the schachus of the punishment, there's mochaviv. So right now we're holding it's mochav. Now, where do you know this from? So look at your you could, if you have art scroll gemaras, you don't have to. All psukim are listed. If you don't have an art scroll gemara, look at your phone. Look at your phone. Here you go, Baruch. You can have a chumash also, but again, you look at the phone and Vayikruch Yudches. Open up to Vayikru Yudches, and we're going to go through this drush. I'm going to do it outside, and then we'll do it inside. We'll do it outside, and then we'll do it inside. Okay. So of course I don't know how to do this to make this bigger. Right? You have it bigger, I know. This drives me crazy. Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe. Okay, can you see this at least? Okay, it's very hard to see. I can't make it bigger. Now, Pasuk. Let's do Pasuk Yud Zayin. Ervas Isha Ubita, the erva of a woman and her daughter, Loy Segala, you should not be revealed, meaning you shouldn't be with. As Bas Bina, the daughter of her daughter, a granddaughter, there's Bas Bita, and the daughter of her daughter, Loy Sikach, you should not take Legalis Ervasa, She'era Heina Zimahi. It says Heina and Zima over here. Now, when it says Isha Ubita, guys, a woman and a daughter, clearly it could be your daughter as well. There's nothing in this pasuk that doesn't say it's certainly your stepdaughter, but it also could be your daughter. Now, this pasuk cannot be speaking about an anusa because it says Ervas Isha Ubita. When it says Isha, it's mashma there was Ishus. It's mashma there was Kiddushin. So this pasuk can only be speaking about your legal daughter, your legal granddaughter, or your stepdaughter. But it comes as a result as Isha. It comes about a result of Kiddushin. If you look at pasuk Yud, Ervas Bas Bincha, the erva of your grandson, your son's daughter, Oy bas bitcha, or your daughter's daughter. Again, this is speaking about also grandchild. Loy segala ervasa ki ervascha heina. Now this pasuk does not say isha. Good, but this pasuk doesn't say isha ubita. This pasuk just says granddaughter. So now, one pasuk tells me daughter, but it doesn't tell me anusa. Another pasuk tells me anusa, it doesn't tell me daughter. So you go to hell, take the word heina, guys. It says heina over here by anusa. It says heina over here by daughter, and therefore I will know that even a daughter, as a result of what? Of a rape, of anusa, is asa to you. So again, it's a two-step process. This pasuk teaches me daughter, but only legal daughter, because it says isha. This pasuk teaches me granddaughter, but it doesn't take, and anusa, but it doesn't teach me daughter. But as a result of the heina, I connect the daughter to what? I connect the daughter to the anusa. I connect the bottom one. Now, what's the punishment? So it says over here the word zima. It says over here in this pasuk, in pasuk Chaf, in Vayikra Chaf, this is your mother-in-law. That's why we know achoso, guys. Zima he be'esh yisrofu. It's zima be'esh yisrofu. So what do you see? Where it says zima, it says be'esh yisrofu. So now we have heina teaches me what? That there's an isser of anusa, and zima teaches me that you get streifa. That's the limit, guys. Good. It's good, guys. I think it's good. It's again, it's geschmack. Okay. So now, says the Gemara, Dama Rava, Amar Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Asya heina, Asya zima. You learn heina to teach me what? That a bita menusasa was asa. And you learn zima from chamaisai that you get streifa. Now, so that, no, and that's why it's listed first. That's a limud, because you wouldn't know anything. The other 14, you know what they are. What's the limud? Just that the makam yibu with a tzara, it patters the tzara. But the etzim, the fact that you're punished, that it says openly. That's not the drasha we're speaking about. We're speaking about our drasha to create everything, to create the issa, and then what? And then the punishment. So therefore, that, since it's chaviv right now, explains why we listed bitay first, because it's a total drasha. Hashta the Amrit Komilsa the Asimit Drasha Chavibale Lisni La'achas Isha Libesayf. Okay, guys, where are we learning everything out from? Achasisha, right? So everything else is a limud, yeah? That you learn out from a limud is what? Is mochaviv. So what should be number 15? Not daughter-in-law. Achasisha should be number 15, because everything else was learned out from it. And the thing you learn out is the more chashva thing. So if it's true what you're saying, that Milsa Da'asim B'drasha Chavivale lists the source last, because everything else was a drasha and the source wasn't. What do you mean? Is that you but you're going with the svara. You are going with the svara that it's but that's not pshat, because that you don't need for a drasha. You are speaking about you're speaking as a principle. Aim on the blackboard, main idea first. No, we're saying over here, Milsa Da'asim Drasha. You're right, meaning that the thing that you learn is Mochashiv. We're working backwards. I hear what you're saying, logic, but you're saying something that you wouldn't know, and it's so dear to me, so precious to me. Achazisha is not as precious as the things you learn from it. That's the Gemara's kasha. So Fred the Gemara, so if that's the case, that Milsa Da'asim Drasha is Chavim, and that's why Bita, you're learning Bita, yeah? So therefore, you should learn what? You should learn Achas, you should mention Achas Ishta. Because why? Last. Because that's the way you learn everything. It says the Gemara, I did the Ari Be'isr Achvasa Tana Achas Ishta. Well, you know what? Since we were speaking already about Achos Imo, Achos Ishta, since we mentioned those things, we mentioned Achas Ishta. Since we in the Limudim, okay. Ella says the Gemara, Velisni lahai bavel b'soif. So guys, learn the whole case of ach list. In other words, once you tell me it's a drasha, so tell me bitay, and then go ahead, tell me kalasai, tell me other things, and then tell me achasish. So as a result of this, we're throwing this out the window. As a result of this, now that you understand it, we're rejecting the whole thing. In other words, we don't know right now why we listed in the order that we listed in. We don't know why. It's not al sreifa. It can't be, because then chamosa should be listed, and kalasa should be listed earlier. Correct? It can't be drasha because if it's a drasha, the order is wrong. Ella, what's the reason? Ella, tana kurve nakat. First, he's learning those that are closest to him. So who is closest to him? His daughter, Bitai, Ubas Bitai, his blood relatives, guys. Bitai, Bas Bitai, his granddaughter, Ubas Bino, his granddaughter from his son. The Kroive Atzmai. So the first three are Mamish, his Kroivim. Get, yeah? Now the next three guys are Bas Ishtoi, Bas Bino, Bas Bita. It's her Kroivim. So the first three is Kroiv Atzmai. For I did ton of Shleisha Doiris Limata D-Day, since you learned 3 generations below him, meaning him and his granddaughter, Tananami Shleisha Doiris Limata D-Da. We then learned the 3 underneath her, Bas Ishto, Bas Bina, Bas Bita. For I did ton of Shleisha Doiris Limata D-Da, the 3 going down, Tana Shleisha Doiris Limaila D-Da. We learned the 3 going up, Chamoso, Aim Chamoso, Aim Chamav. Then what did you do? Then Tana Achoso, the Achos Imo, the Krovi Atzmo, his sister and his aunt, which are his own Krovim. The ID, the Iri Isser Achva, and since you were speaking about the Isser of a sister, Tana Achas Ishto, you mentioned his wife's sister. Ubedinu the Lakadmi Lakalasai, Mikame Eshes Achos Leibalamai. And really, you should list Kalasa, you should list in the 13th slot, not in the 15th slot. So, as a before Eishes Achshalei Balamo, and also before Eishes Achiv Me'imai. Delay Mishum Kurva Hu Dasiri, because it's not Asa by Kurva. Alad Aidi the Arib Isser Achva Tana Eishes Achiv Shlehoya Balamo the Hadatani Kalasai. Okay, so now that's the reason. That's the reason. In other words, the maskana, the reason is you learn according to the closeness. So we learned your closest first, her closest first, the one going up above her. Then you listed your close sister. Since you're speaking about sister, you brought everything else in. It has to do with a sister. That's what it felt like you were doing. Yeah, again, but good in the explanation, but why the listing that way? You're right. You're right. But why was it listed that way? Why did they opt for that way?
What's the difference? It said twice that it was his own relation. It talks about his children, grandchildren.
Right.
Then it talks about
then hers. Then it talks about her grandchildren. Then it comes to achos.
Imo, it also says it's provo.
It is. Yeah, because
why the children are closer?
What? Yeah, sure. Sure, children are closer than achos imo than a sister. Yeah. Yeah. It's a chorus. Your own children is a more severe issa. Much more closer. Guy with his daughter is a sreifa. Guy with his sister is chorus. No, I'm giving you an example of you want. I'm using that as a means of explaining the curva. Okay. This is like college bowl. They would be disqualified. Remember college bowl? You could never answer any of those questions. It was on Motzei Shabbos. Like it was like before the hockey game. You had to listen to it. I never got one right. Huh? No, I'm talking about. Remember the colleges against each other. Okay. Anyway, fighter. Okay, so now we have a reason for the listing. It's based upon relationships. It's based upon relationships. Now, it's very, always the first mission that they analyzed like anything. What does it say? They pata the tzara. They pata the tzara. Fred the Gemara, why did you use the lashon of pater? Fred the Gemara. My area did Tony Paitrois. Why do you learn the lashon of they let him off the hook? Listen to Eisrois. They make them usher. In fact, they make them usher. Okay, so listen to the nuance of the language. Yeah, what? Go ahead.
It's that's what they are.
You've been sitting here a long time. Guys, how do you view, let's say yesterday's case, right? Reuven's daughter is married to Shimon, and he has another wife. Shimon has another wife, Penina. Now, Shimon dies. Falling in front of Reuven now is 2 women. His daughter and Penina, his daughter and the Tzara. Why can't he marry the Tzara? There's 2 ways to look at it. It's because the fact that he has his daughter there, she asks the Tzara upon him. Or no, since you can't be Mekayim the mitzvah, automatically she's asa because of Eishes Ach. Again, I can't hack that enough, guys. Once the B'shas Nefila, at the time they fall for Yibum, if you can't do the mitzvah, she remains what she always was. His sister-in-law, which is Nisav Karis, Eishes Ach. So if you would have used the lashon of Oisrois, what would you think? It's the Yava, it's the Erva, the fact that it's his, I'm using the first case, that it's his daughter, As is the other one. That's not true. The reason it's Asa is because once you can't do the mitzvah, automatically it's Asa. She remains what she was. As I state in Gemara. Umayir Yitani Paitrois, listening Oisrois, says the Gemara, Itani Oisrois, Havamina, Asa liyabim. I would say it's Asa to do Yibam, Aval Michlatz Chaltza, but you can do Chalitza. Kamash Malon says, I'm listening Asur Lachlites. My cover, what did you do wrong? Go ahead and do Chalitza. Allah Allah, you can't do Chalitza. If you do Chalitza, you may come to Yibam. So, and for the Gemara, Kivin the Memaka mitzvah hu da asiri tsara ushloi b'maka mitzvah sharye mishum hachi tana paitros. Okay, now let's say when is Penina Asa, guys? Penina is only Asa when she falls in front of Ruvain with an erva. In other words, a scenario of what? Of a scenario of Yibam. What happens if it's not a scenario of Yibam? I'll give you a good example. Ruvain has a son, right? Ruvain has a daughter. She marries a guy. The daughter gets married, and this guy has two wives. So Ruvain has a son, Chetzroin. Chetzroin is married to Ruvain. Ruvain has a daughter, Harriet. Ruvain has a daughter, Harriet. Harriet marries a guy named Shimon, and he happens to have a wife, Penina. And now Shimon dies. Can Ruvain marry what? Penina. Yeah. Why? Because it's not b'makom mitzvah, right? It's not b'makom mitzvah. But when is that? When does the Penina you can't marry? That's in a place of Yibam where the Zika is what? The Zika is not there because of the Erva. Masha'en came where there's no Zika, because it's not Yibam, there's no problem. When the daughter was alive, you couldn't marry. Who cares? You couldn't. And it says the Gemara. So that's what it's saying over here. Kivin de Mamaka mitzvah, who the Asiri tzara, since Penina is only usher in the place of a mitzvah, in the mitzvah of Yibum, Ushaloi b'maka mitzvah, in a regular case where it's not Yibum. Sharia, it's muta, mishum hachitani paitrois. Therefore, we say paitrois. This is what I spoke out before. Epatis. Let's see the lashon of Rashi, guys. It's very, very good. Kivin de Mamaka mitzvah. Medium width, about 7 lines up from the big wide lines. Kivin Mamaka mitzvah Yibum, hu dasiri. Saras Abbas, only in the place of Yibam is the wife of the, you get the first case, the rival of the daughter. As soon as she gets potter from the Zika of Yibam, that you don't have to perform Yibam to her, guys, here's the key. She remains like what? She remains like a sister-in-law that has children. In other words, there it is. There it is. It remains like that. However, shalei b'makom mitzvah sharia. Kigoin, the case I gave you, nachri shenasa chaysnoi, a person that marries his daughter, becomes his son-in-law, v'lo yisha acheres, and he has a previous wife, umeis, and then his dies. Muteres ishtay lechamav. She's mutter to her father-in-law. Kidetan lekamon gabe shesha royas, as we're going to see. Mishamachi tani paitrais Rashi. The itana oisrais, if he would have said asar, mashma shehabas oisra alav likach. That the bas would aser, the kalvachayim shlei b'makom mitzvah that the bas would aser. In other words, guys, look at me. If the girl creates the iser, the fact that it's his daughter, madach b'makom mitzvah yibum, you can't marry Penina. Certainly shlei b'makom mitzvah, you shouldn't be able to marry Penina. His daughter was married to this guy. He died. Now coming in front of Ruvain is who? Is a woman, Penina, who happened to have been, it's a father-in-law from not mamish, because it was married to the daughter. The dead son was married to the daughter. I'm keeping mixing it up. No, the dead man who brought this into the marriage, right? It was his father-in-law. So you would have thought what? Since the Ereva makes it Asa, and the fact that they were married, this Penina was a tzara to the Bas, to Ruvain's daughter, it should be Asa. So you say no. So therefore, you can't use the lashon oiseres. You use lashon paiteres. What does the erva do? It tatters the zika of a normal yibum situation. It cuts off the fact that what? There's no zika to do yibum. She remains therefore an eishes ach. Once you can't do yibum, again, we spoke out yesterday. Yibum is a crazy chiddush. If you're with your sister-in-law, it's a chi of karis. The child's a mamza. Yet, b'maka mitzvah, it's mutter. It's nuts. So this is a theme that repeats itself throughout Masechta Yevamot. That's why I'm hacking it so much. If you b'shas nefila, that means when the brother dies without children. If at the time of nefila you can't perform yibum, she remains what she always was, an eishes ach, as if she had banim, and it's an isakaris. And that's why you have to learn poitrois, not oisrois. Because oisrois with mashma, the bas is answering. It's not the bas that's answering. It's the relationship that's answering. Okay, was that good? Does that make sense? Guys, you good? Okay, Baruch Hashem. Says the Gemara Vayta. So now, continuing the analyzation of the the words of the Mishnah. So we have chamesh esrei noshim poitrois sarasayim b'sar sarasayim. What is it? Pater min chalitza u'min yibum. Now, what's the main mitzvah? Yibum or chalitza? Yibum. So why does it say min chalitza min yibum? It should say min yibum min chalitza, right? Why are you giving the ancillary mitzvah? Give the ikar mitzvah, which is to perform yibum. Not clearly from the parsha that we read yesterday. Is chalitza is the b'di'eved. We want to be hakim shem be Yisrael. We want to keep the guy's name alive. We want yibum to be done. Chalitza, we give the guy a zug. The Rambam calls him an achsar for doing it. Right, the main we give this guy a title, a guy who goes ahead and had his shoe taken off, right? So why do we say give chalitza first? Fred Marakasha, umayi tani min chalitza min yibum, listen min yibum lechude, learn yibum, because that's the main thing. It says ma'itana min yibum hava mina michlas chalza yivu milan biyama kamash malan. If we would have just said that you would have said yibum alone, you would have said do chalitza. Kamash malan by saying chalitza, kala oila leyibum oila lechalitza, v'chal she'ena oila leyibum ena oila lechalitza. Anyone who gets to yibum, anyone's oila leyibum is oila lechalitza. If you're not oila to yibum, you're not oila lechalitza. Fred Gemara listening min yibum min chalitza. So right. Inami min chalitza lechuda. Learn chalitza alone. So I know why you can't learn Yibum alone. To teach me a chiddush that if you only leave so Fred Mara listening the opposite, listening mina Yibum mina chalitza, mention chalitza, inami mina chalitza lechude, and I would know obviously if you part from chalitza, you part from Yibum. So it says the Gemara, our Mishnah is Abishol. The Mishnah is going to Abishol that I mentioned yesterday. Dama mitzvahs chalitza koidemus the mitzvahs Yibum. Again, we said yesterday that a person has to have right kavana, and Abishol holds that what if you don't. He says Yibum, most people can't have the right kavana, and we're going to see on that Gemara in Daf Chavtes that if a man does do Yibum, he doesn't write kavana, korov that his child should be a mamzer, as I mentioned. So he says, guess what? Don't do Yibum. You know, no person is so chashav. Do chalitza. So therefore, mentions chalitza first because that's what you should do first. Okay, that's that teretz. Now, in the Mishnah we add numbers. The Mishnah will always ask. The Gemara will always ask, why do you have to tell me a number? I can count. So it says two things in the Mishnah, guys. What does it say? It says chamesh esrei noshim paichos saraseihem. Those are what? Those are 15. Those are 15. And then it says hare elu on base the top line. Hare elu paichos saraseihem. Hare elu these is mashma also these and none others. So we have a stated number and an implied number, right? We have a stated number 15, and elu these meaning referring to the 15, right? So now we have numbers 15 up. So Fred the Gemara, minyana de reisha lemute mai, uminyana de seif lemute. What does each one come to go ahead and exclude? Why does it come to exclude? Okay, let's give you two cases. Okay, let's take out the book. We'll give you two cases. Okay, page 26. Here's a case of tsaras saita. Guys, this is the tsara of a saita. Okay, let's go through the case. You have Reuven, two brothers, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven is married to two wives, Penina and Chana, right? And Chana is an adulteress. She has relations illicitly with an acher, another person. This is not a saita that it's a suffix that you have to give meimarim. This is a vadei saita. In other words, we know this is a woman who is vadei saita. She was over on the Isra of Eishes Ish. Good? Now, he dies, Reuven. Falling in front of Shimon are two women, Penina and Chana. Now, Rav holds that Chana is off the hook, that Penina is off the hook, because since Shimon can't marry Chana, because Chana is an adulteress, they're both pata. That's the case of Sarasaita. That what? She's Mechuyev Misa. She's an Arab. I mean, she's also on the whole world. She's also on everybody. I mean, she's considered tamei. You can't. There's nothing you can do for her. So that's the tsara. That's the tsara of a. That's the tsara of a saita. Now, there's a case of tsaras islandess that just the same case, but you find out that Chana was an islandess. She couldn't have children. So there's an opinion that if in falling in front of Reuven would be two women, Chana and Penina. Chana would be an islandess, a woman who's not capable of having children. That would left what? Penina off the hook. Let's do one more case. Case picture page 27. The tsara of Ma'enes, a girl who's supposed to go ahead and give miyun, refuse the marriage. So again, the two brothers, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven's got two wives, Penina and Chana, who's a katana. Reuven dies. Now falling in front of Shimon is two women, Penina and Chana. Right? It's Penina and Chana is a katana. Okay. Well, now she refuses the marriage. She refuses the marriage to Shimon. That's why Chana is giving her the cold shoulder, as you see in picture 25.3. That, of course, is our favorite picture. Right? You see that it's giving the cold shoulder. So in that case, you have to give chalitza. You have to give chalitza and not also rabbanon. Okay, so now let's see what we got. Let's go back to us now. So you want to know what the 15 comes to, the number 15 elu? Lemute de Rav u'deravasi. It excludes Rav, who says saras saita, and excludes Ravasi, who says saras of islandess. Now, Ravasi, lamute de Rav u'deravasi. L'Rav u'deravasi lamute mai. Isfiru the hadadi. If they all both hold like each other, in other words, they either hold the one or the other, either islandess or saita. Chadl mutet tsaras ma'enes, the chadl mutet tsaras machzer grushaso. And once the case where a man takes his wife back, it's usher. If a man divorces his wife and she lives with another man, he can't take her back. He can't take her back. So if he would take her back and he have another wife and he would die, and that falls in front of his brother, then you wouldn't be able to do yibum chalitza. So it comes to exclude that case. And if you hold that they didn't change that dadi, they don't hold like each other. Chadl mute de chavre, the chadl lemute, and one to oitzaras ma'enes, oitzaras machshur saso. Now, so according again, here's the basic guys. Here's the case. Either Rav and Ravasi held like each other. So if they held like each other, they both agree. If they both agree, meaning one they hold that ma'enes and they hold islandess and they hold Slaita, they each hold like each other, right? Then, right, one would have to be to exclude, they would exclude something else. What would they exclude? They would exclude Tsaras Ma'enes, and one to exclude Tsaras Mashkur Saso. In other words, according to this, Sota and islandess would have the same properties as the other 15. You would have a case of what? You'd have a case of you'd have a case of a woman falling in front of a brother with an erva. The erva here either being an islandess, we're calling it an erva, or saita. And the Gemara is going to ask a question, so why weren't they included? So they can't be excluded from the number because they're the same din. So it must be some other case. So look at the Gulash of the Gemara now. Lemute derav deravasi. L'rav deravasi lemute mai. So the 15 excludes Rav Ravasi, meaning We don't hold Saras Saita. We don't hold Saras Islandess. We hold Penina from a Saita would marry. And we hold Penina from an Islandess would marry. So our 15 excludes those two. But according to Rav and Rav Asi, who say it's the exact same as the other 15, what does the number come to exclude? You with me, guys? Okay, good. So now, since Saita and Islandess are the exact same as the 15, what does the number 15 and Elu come to exclude? Says the Gemara the following. If they agree with each other, then Chadal, meaning that what? Meaning that they both agree that they're like mamish like an erva, Saita and Islandess is like an erva. Then Chada is lemutei tsaris ma'enes, the Chada lemutei tsaris ma'ashkrisasov. The Elais Firula Dadi, but they don't agree, meaning they either hold one or the other, then Chadal Mute the Chavre, the other ones, for Chadal Mute Eitzas Menes, it says Machshrasai. Okay, now, so just to summarize, if Rav and Rav Asi hold that, again, there's two possibilities, Islandess and Saita. If they hold it, they're the same as the 15, so they're not excluded. Good. So therefore, the exclusion will be Mima Enes and Machshrasai. If they disagree with each other, then let's say Rav says Saita, so he would say the one that's excluded would be Islandess, and the other one would be either Mama Enes or Machshagrussaso, and Rav Asi the other way. That's all we're saying right now. Question: according to Rav or Rav Asi, since they hold that the number is the same, right? Why isn't it listed? Since they hold exactly like an erva, it's going to pata the tzara. Why isn't it listed? So that's the Gemara yes right now. Fred the Gemara the following. And the Rav Rav Asi, right? According to them, Lisnayu, we should learn Saita and Islandess. Guys, you should learn Saita and Islandess with the 15. What's the answer? The Fisha Einoi Bitsara Tsara. They don't exist Bitsara Tsara. Guys, what's the case? Watch. What's the case of Tsara Tsara? You have Reuven, Shimon, there's a third brother Levi. Good? Reuven, Shimon, and there's a third brother Levi, right? So you have Reuven gets off the hook. Reuven can't marry because it's an erva, right? You can't marry an erva, so Penina's pata. Good, she patas. So then she would go ahead and what? She would marry. What? Penina, but she's a tsara. She's pata. How can she go marry a brother? What? Yeah, no, that's not the case with Sarah. We had him. Over there. Okay, so page 21. Okay, what happens? Again, Shimon, Reuven is ma'anas a woman, and he has a daughter from the act of honest named Chana. Chana marries Shimon, and there's a woman Penina, and there's a third brother Levi. Good. Shimon dies. Now Reuven can't marry Penina, but Levi could. Reuven can't marry Penina because of the relationship. She was the tsar of Chana, but Levi could. Now, if there was another woman, Halah, right? And now Levi dies, so Halah is pata because of Penina, if they fall back in front of Reuven. So that Sarah, meaning guys, that Sarah that could marry one of the other brothers, no matter how many times she comes back to Reuven, she's going to pata the other woman she comes back with. Guys, one more time. Listen what I'm telling you. Listen. Reuven falls in front of Reuven. Look at me. Guys, look at me. Falls in front of Reuven an erva. Falling in front of Reuven, guys, is an erva and another woman. That other woman is going to always call Penina. So he can't marry Penina. Penina can marry the next brother, Levi, because there isn't this erva to go ahead and be an impediment. So he does Yibum, Levi, to Penina. Levi dies, and Levi had another wife. Now falling back in front of Reuven is Penina and that other wife. Guess what? Off the hook. Why? Because since Penina, again, what's my rule of thumb? Since she fell in front of Reuven once, and he could be Mekayim the mitzvah, she's Eishes Ach. So she's coming back now. Boom, you're finished. You can't learn that case by Saita. That's 29b. You can't. That's 29b, Lenny. That's the case you can't learn by side. Let's take a look at 29b now. You have Reuven, Shimon, Velevi. Reuven's wife, Chana, had an illicit relation, right? Chana, and the Baal dies. Good. The Baal dies. Now Chana goes to marry Shimon, and Penina is the tzara of Shimon, right? Just like Chana is asa to Reuven, because she's a right. So too what should Penina be? So that places yes in the kasha at patas. Now, next case, six I suffer. Take a look at 29c, the second shlaf over there. If she would go ahead and go to Levi, so if she fought, so that's not the case. That's not helping you.
Because Levi dies, now Pina goes back to
Okay. Hey guys, it's a double pasha. It's a double pasha. The woman that's a soita can't marry anyone. She can't marry anyone. There's no. What would the case be? Guys, look at me. What would the case be? You have Reuven's wife, right? Reuven's wife ended up, she is Mizana, right? And then she has a wife, and now she goes ahead and it's also on Reuven. It's also on Shimon. It's also on Levi. It's also. So you can't have a case of the tzara going marrying. It's constantly asa. So therefore, that's why it's not listed. That's why it does. That's why it's not listed. Okay, let's see it inside. It says Fredding Marakasha. So Velisti, let's go ahead and learn the case of Saita and islands to be shame, but Sarah, because you can't. In the case of the Erva, it was only Asar on Reuven. It wasn't Asar on Shimon. So Levi could marry, but over here it's Asar on everybody, so it doesn't begin. Now, Minani Mili, guys, how do you know this whole parsha? How do you know that you putter? How do you know if a woman that's an erva with a wife falls in front of a brother? How do you know that it's putter? 15 cases. How do you know that the tsar is putter? You know, this is first base. So we said, what's the source? Achas Isha, and here's the source. Minani Mili. Isha el achaisa loisikach, a woman and to a sister you should not take. Litzrar, to make them tsaris to each other. Legalis ervasa, aleha bichayeha. In other words, as long as your wife is alive, then you can't marry her sister. If the wife dies, you could. Now, aleha ma tamid loymar. It says aleha. What are you telling me aleha? Ma tamid loymar. Lefishenema, because it says Yevamot yavay aleha. So I would think her Yevamot comes onto her. Shemeya ani afilu ba'achas mikol haroyos hamuras b'toira kosim medaber. Guys, are we giving a waiver to an erva by Yibum? Are we giving a waiver to an erva by Yibum? Are we giving a waiver? Yeah, right. Why limit it to what? To I would say, no matter who falls in front of you, right? Then in the place of Yibum, do Yibum. Once you're not playing the game anymore, play the game totally, right? That's what you would have thought. That's what Yevamot yavay aleha. Who? His sister-in-law. That's an Isser of Koris that creates Mamzeris. So who adin? Any one of the other Aroyas that falls, I would say you do Yibum. Anyone, we'll ask a question. Now, it says over here, aleha, v'nema lahalan aleha. Ma lahalan b'maka mitzvah, just like by Yibum it's maka mitzvah, afkan b'maka mitzvah. So too, don't take your sister, you can take your sister-in-law, right? B'maka mitzvah. Aleha, Yevamot yavay aleha. And it says aleha by your sister-in-law. By your sister-in-law, achasisha, But you could take the Makkah mitzvah. You can't take her. So you see that what? You can't take it. You can't take your sister-in-law. You can't not take what? You can't take achas isha. You can't take what? The sister, your sister of your wife. Not you can take the sister of the wife of your husband. You can't take the sister of your wife. So we learn out. This is the source, guys. This is the source that what? That b'makkah mitzvah, like it says Allah, by guys, outside. By Yevamot it says Allah, b'makkah mitzvah. By achas isha it says Allah, b'makkah mitzvah. So, and yet it says, Loi sikach. Afil b'makkah mitzvah of Yibum, if it's an erva, like a wife's sister, Loi sikach, you can't take. That's the source for not taking an erva. Now, we have to expand it beyond achas isha, the parameters of karis, maybe Mises Bezin Kol Shekain. But that's the limit. One more time, guys. This is an important limit. Important limit. We know that if it falls in front of you, two women, and one of them is one of the 15 arayas, you can't take it. Why not? Because it says by achas isha aleha, and it says Yevamot yavay aleha. So Yevamot yavay aleha is b'makkah mitzvah. You can't marry your wife's sister b'makkah mitzvah. No, I would say that's speaking b'makkah mitzvah, and it says loy sikach. You can't take her. Afil b'makkah mitzvah yibum loy sikach. You can't take her. That's the limit. Okay, geschmack. Now continues the Gemara. The Ein li elahi sarasaminayin. Good. I can't marry the erva. How do I can't marry Penina? Penina is that classic, right? I can't marry Chana, but I could marry Penina. Tamalei malitzrar. Don't make him tsaris, even at Sarah. The Ein li elat sarsa. How about sarasaminayin? How do you know it's Sarah to it's Sarah? How do you know when Penina gets married and what? And you have a halah, right? How do you know halah? It doesn't say tsar, which is mashma one tsaris. It says litzrar, which is mashma many tsaris. The ainly achas isha shara rois minayin. That's the obvious question, right? This is only tells me what isha achas isha. How do you know? That's only one of the 15. How do you know the other 14? Amra, it's a bemitzinu, guys. Ma achas isha miuchedes. She's unique. She erva v'chayev al zudayne kares. If you boil b'shoigeg, you have to make a chatos. Vasur liyavam, and she's also from the yavam because it says like sikach b'makkah mitzvah. Af kol shu erva. So to anything that's an erva, any erva. The chayav al zedani kares val shigus chatos asur liyavam. The only elahain sarasei minayin. How do you know that saris? Good. I would say only the erva itself. Amid ma achasishim yuchedesh she erva v'chayav al zedani kares val shigus chatos. Because it says litzrar, avkolshi erva v'chayav mazon kores, so she got the chatas vasur liyav. This is Yevamot throwing you a bone. Sarasa asura. Mikanom chachamim chamesh esrei noshim paitrosh saraseyem v'tzaras saraseyem menachlitzim reyibam ad sleifa oilam. Yocha shani marba av sheish aroyos chamuros me'elo. We're going to see on Daf Yud Gimel. There are 6 that are more chamor that I would think shei saraseyem asuros that the tzara should be asa. Armit. Ma'achas ishta miuchedesh she erva v'chayav mazon kares v'shugas chatas v'yeshul nasi la'achim v'asur liyabein v'tzarasa asura avkol she erva v'chayav mazon kares v'shugas chatas v'yeshul nasi la'achim v'asur liyav v'tzarasa asura yatsa sheis arayis chamuras me'elu hayol v'yeshul nasi la'achim tzarasei mutaras shein tzara ela me'ach. Okay, guys. Basically, let me just tell what I just read. The only time this whole Torah works that you can't marry the yavam is where the yavam, the tzara, can be married by one of the brothers. To me, it's my daughter. She's my erva. To my brother, it's not an erva. To my brother, it's a niece. What happens if it's to me, Asr, to my brother, Asr, to my other brother, Asr, as all those 6? Then the tzara is not pata. Then the tzara is not pata. Only in that case, we're what? Okay. So we'll call it a day. Tomorrow I'm going to try for 9 o'clock, guys. I'm going to try for the morning. It's asay dochalos. It's a different sugya tomorrow. So we go to we digress to a very, very interesting sugya. The whole sugya of a mitzvah asay pushing of a lois asay, one of the biggest this in biggest rate.
No, so in the case here, you go to cover comments. I don't know.